The roustabouts, the wharf workers, a lot of them were black, and they were right there on the riverfront taking part in all of this, taking part in the marching and so forth. So that day, workers, that was Tuesday, workers voted for a general strike. What did they vote for? Not, again, for the railroad workers, but a call for the end to child labor and the 8-hour day. Now, the 8-hour day had been born in the Civil War. People fail to realize that. They think it came out of some other development. But it came out of this idea of elevating worker rights and thinking about how do you really bring freedom about. So it was also something that the machinists were always in favor of. This idea that the hours of labor are too long if somebody is unemployed. So again, thinking about this broad is beyond industrial unionism, but thinking about political rights connected to it, and so forth. So in that, after Lucas Market, what happens is people take it upon themselves to start marching from workplace to workplace. There were about 60 workplaces then in St. Louis, 60 major factories, and then shops, of course, shops and retail places. But it became known in the papers as the tramping strike, right? That's the way they looked at it. The way I like to think of it is this is the real inauguration of the marching strike. The idea of putting your body on the line and forcing a shutdown through that kind of collective action. Now, these kinds of events had happened, but never in this general way, and never for these kind of general demands. So in the neighborhoods, they went from place to place, and they said, we are out, we're for the 8-hour day, the end of child labor, and the end to the abuse of these capitalists, and said, are you going to join us or are you going to stay? And one by one, the factories shut down until there was a general strike. They allowed certain businesses to stay open, like bakeries, so people could eat. But it was especially black and white workers and young kids leading those marching strikes from what we know. Everybody in that community making it a community-based struggle. Again, the same thing had happened in East St. Louis. The same thing happens in Carondelet, where they have a separate general strike. You know, to the extent that we know who led that, it wasn't led necessarily by the top leaders, but by people willing to put their bodies on the line. Along the way, a little kid runs into one of the bakeries, and one of the leaders of the strike buys a loaf of bread, and he sticks it on the a post, and they carry it around, saying this is a strike for bread. Again, calling to mind those ancient demands for bread from working people, that they were part of, that was part of working class heritage, and the idea stuck with them.